Alrighty everyone, welcome back. Now, a lot of fans are getting very excited as we get closer to the middle point of 2023, where we're going to be getting a lot more ideas of where Jon and Dave are taking things, of course, moving ahead with the Star Wars franchise. We have Star Wars Celebration coming up in just a couple of days from now, and that's really going to give us a partial view of the official Star Wars roadmap at D23, by the way, later this year. That's going to be the real deal for the roadmap announcements by Disney and Lucasfilm. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, where we stand today, there's a lot of things happening at once between George Lucas, Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, really trying their absolute best to piece all of the broken aspects of Star Wars back together again. And ever since the sequel trilogy came to a close, we all know that Kathleen Kennedy has been scrambling to get herself together for the Acolyte and Skeleton Crew, which is by far one of the most disastrous productions behind the scenes over at Lucasfilm. Now, moving on to the next big thing here. Alright, what George Lucas was able to get Disney to move forward with is truly legendary and pure genius in my opinion, and it has a lot to do with upcoming Star Wars films and the revival of fan favorite characters and more. But there's a lot more to it than just that. It's about the overall concept that George Lucas convinced Disney to actually move ahead with. So let's go into the actual specifics about what really happened behind closed doors between Lucas, Favreau, Filoni, Bob Iger, and many of the executives and board members. Now, with that being put out there and said, alright, with creator George Lucas working closely with Jon and Dave on the future of Star Wars, he recently joined a meeting with Jon, Dave, and some Disney executives on the roadmap of the Star Wars universe. Now, it's noted, however, that just recently Lucas convinced the Disney executives to move ahead with the plan and a strategy to bring back young Han, Luke, and Leia on the big screen again, and that this is planned to be done through the use of new Mandalorian movies, and of course, being treated as a new sequel trilogy in a sense that is now entering into early development, that is going to serve as an inner trilogy of the Skywalker saga, taking place between the originals and sequels. Disney is viewing this as a new sequel trilogy in a sense, and in the beginning, it was a pitch made by George Lucas to deliver the fans a true sequel trilogy in a sense. Characters like Din Djarin and Grogu will serve as side characters, where the current plan is to focus on Luke, Han, Leia, and more, using ILM's new revolutionary and breakthrough technology that's going to change the film industry forever, along with Rosario Dawson and Katie Sackhoff reprising their roles as Bo-Katan and Ahsoka. Now, let me just pause here quickly for a second. Now, we talked about this briefly before in the past, about how Disney was focusing on a new trilogy in a sense that's going to become a new sequel one. And basically, this was all George's idea that he passed on to Disney. That's of course what ended up being the case. And that really brings you to, the realization that George Lucas really has a great idea here that's now being picked up by Disney and is actually going into early development. And this is probably the best way, by the way, guys, to really bring all your fan favorite characters on the big screen again in a new iteration, right? So though it's not necessarily, rewriting episodes 7 through 9, but this is serving as an inner trilogy of the Skywalker saga. I think that this is pure genius by George Lucas. I think it's a great idea. I think it really does kind of fulfill everything that comes in between, and the fact that Star Wars Ahsoka and the Mandoverse as a whole and other projects on Disney Plus are going to build up to this new trilogy. I think it's a really good plan by Lucas that Disney's now officially picking up. On to the next thing, though. We know that Kathleen Kennedy is not fond of this. She does not support this. Obviously, not a big surprise there. But when you look at Star Wars films, we have seen this time and time again before in the past, where Disney wants to make sure that they have a concrete, well-established plan. We already know that they are in the process of developing Old Republic movies as well, but this is the big one. This is the big trilogy that they really want to kind of focus on and really make it a big budget story. Now, on to the next piece is that the plan is to focus on Grand Admiral Thrawn and new Dark Jedi as the main villains, and that the Ahsoka series is said to be used as a tool to set this up in this new Mando trilogy that was pitched by George Lucas. Mark Hamill is set to become heavily involved in this new sequel trilogy that will showcase characters from the Mandoverse as well. Disney also expressed how they want Lucas in as a co-writer, and George is said to have, of course, taken up that offer from Disney to work with John, Dave, and other creators, taking hold of this new project from Lucasfilm. The plan now is that Disney wants to make an official announcement for this inner trilogy by sometime in 2024, most likely at next year's Celebration event, in which, by the way, guys, yes, there will be another one next year. Now, right now, George, John, and Dave are creating endless notes on the story for these new movies to be produced in order to make something truly special. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I think that this is a brilliant idea. It really does give you a better sense of direction and what they really want to do for all of the fan favorite characters that have been getting explored in the Ahsoka series now coming up, as well as the Mandalorian and all the other Disney Plus Star Wars shows. Now, again, I know some fans are not the greatest fans out there of some of the choices made in the Mandoverse era, but basically, Ahsoka right now, by the Disney executives, they view this as the home run of Star Wars. They view this as, like, becoming the new flagship on Disney Plus. That's what they're aiming for, at least. And so, I think that there's obviously a connection there. The main reason behind that is they want to make this a new flagship because Ahsoka is going to be used as a conduit, if you will, to build up to this new trilogy. And I think that's a great plan of theirs. The fact that George is the guy who really pushed for this and convinced Disney to move along with this idea is amazing. So, the fact that they want to focus on Thrawn as the new villain, like the new big bad, like Jon Favreau has said this before in the past, that he views Thrawn almost like the Thanos of Star Wars, and he kind of teased that, and how they're building toward that in the Ahsoka series. It's truly a great idea of his to kind of focus on a new villain, and changing things up from Palpatine really kind of feels like a breath of fresh air. It really does. I know some fans out there did not like the fact that Palpatine returned in Episode 9, and let's face it, you know, we know that Kathleen Kennedy strictly did that to justify Rey's powers and how she's connected to the Palpatine bloodline, but Thrawn is a different animal, and what I mean by that is it's a different way, a different format that's next level, and Thrawn is a very ruthless type of character. If you guys have read the older books from Timothy Zahn, and how you have characters like the Dark Jedi, Jorah Sabaoth, who was a clone, and how he created a clone of Luke Skywalker to combat against him. There's so many crazy things from Legends that they could pull from. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below, fill me in below what you guys have to say about all of this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you also very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.